All right, everybody. Welcome back to Toast Time, episode 2 with Anthony Fontanello. That's myself and my good friend Jackson Law. We are recording on November 11th, 2020. Happy Veterans Day to all the veterans out there. 6:37 p.m. So, Jackson, you've been real busy this week. Got Assassin's Creed out. Maximum Football series still going strong. Vendetta University was open up
Yep.
and a whoop ass on whoever we played this week. I can't even remember their name. That's just how much we were just
Yeah.
destroying
That
them.
was East Carolina, I
East
think it
Carolina, I thought
was.
so.
I want to say it was East Carolina. Yeah, just staying busy, man. That's the thing. It's like that's not it. I got a 2K5 video that's probably going to come out soon. I got to get
Yep.
back to recording that because it's a video that's been on the back burner. And the next Assassin's Creed episode, as of recording this, has got like 23 minutes left until it's up. So it's just constant around the clock going. But I'm here, man. I'm ready for this podcast. I've been looking
Yeah.
forward to it.
Yeah. All right. Well, tell you what, without further ado, we'll get it kicked off and started. We'll go, as you've seen from episode 1, we're going to go with Buttery. We're going to get our positive views out the way first because, this is mostly a negative podcast. We like to rip on people. But we give
Pretty much,
credit.
yeah.
We give credit where credit's due. So my first Buttery. So my Buttery pick this week, Dalvin Cook. Okay. Dude comes back from injury, has just absolutely obliterated whoever the hell the Vikings were playing. I mean, he comes back in that game against the Packers, goes for 4 touchdowns, absolutely destroys them. I mean, I haven't seen Aaron Rodgers just look like he just looked like out of the game. I mean, his offense was playing bad anyway that game. That wasn't even his fault. You got guys like George St. George, or whatever his name is, dropping wide open touchdown passes left and right. He was ready to kill him on the field. But Dalvin Cook torched the Packers and then followed it up, torching the Detroit Lions, which, I mean, everyone knows in the AFC North that is not very hard to do. But, however,
No.
Dalvin Cook did it again. I'm impressed with Dalvin Cook. Because coming into the season, he had all this talk of like holding out for his contract, and then he had the injury concerns a little bit. But, he ended up missing a little bit of time. But I tell you what, if he's going to come back from missing time and give me about 6 touchdowns in 2 weeks, I'll gladly give him a week or 2 off every now and then. Like my man Dalvin Cook, he's just been going nuts, and you know what? I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I think I want to say he's been like the number one back, especially in fantasy these past few weeks. And there's a video of Scott verbally a podcast, one of our early fantasy shows that we did. We had a segment called "Don't Eat the Cheese." I didn't even remember this, but apparently I was on that episode. Said "Don't eat the cheese" when it came to Dalvin Cook, and it was really funny. I stayed out of that conversation, but so Scott, you may want to apologize because receipts.
I think Scott owes Dalvin Cook a big
But
apology.
in reality, Dalvin Cook has been tearing. Dalvin Cook has been absolutely phenomenal. He's definitely one of the top backs in the league, and I mean, whatever he ends up getting paid, he rightfully deserves to be paid that. Maybe even more so. He's one of those few running backs that you can say, yeah, I'm gonna pay this dude a shit ton of money, and it's worth it.
Yeah, I would definitely put him in that like tier of running backs, because there's very few of those types of players that you would just hand a ton of money to just because of the player that they are. I mean, most running backs, as we've seen, I mean, look at Le'Veon Bell. He held out for all that money, and since he's come back from taking that year off, he's been doing absolutely nothing. Now, granted, he was on the Jets, Now we'll wait to see what happens when he gets into a little bit more of a groove with the Chiefs. However, I
Hmm.
still really don't see him doing that well, only because the Chiefs just have too many mouths to feed. Like, there's only so many points you can put up on the board. So I don't. I mean, personally, I just don't see Le'Veon Bell performing that well. But anyway, let me not even get into Le'Veon Bell right now.
No, no, no. So we'll move on to mine real quickly. In my buttery toast from this past week was Josh Allen had a great bounce back
No.
game against the Seahawks. That team put up 44 points Seahawks on the Seahawks defense, and the Seahawks defense, they're not a great defense this season anyway to begin. It was all Josh Allen. He was 31 of 38 yards, almost 11 yards, pretty much 11 yards per throw, 3 touchdowns. And then, of course, he had 7 carries for 14 yards and scored once on the ground. So 4 touchdowns in that game. Just an absolute incredible game from what I think is one of the better teams in the league. They've struggled, and I was wondering if this was going to be a real test for them. Their defense still gave up a lot of points, but it's because Russell Wilson is on the other side, dude. He himself almost threw for 400 yards, but they did a great job containing him. Otherwise, which that's weird to say that only throwing for 390 yards is containing Russell Wilson, but it's Russell Wilson, so that's containing him. Also, they picked him off twice. But I even think Josh Allen was named AFC Offensive Player of the Week, rightfully deserving so. Big win for Buffalo. Maybe this gets them back on the right track. I think they're a top 5 team. I think they got a legitimate shot that if they can come out on top in the AFC, then they can win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, Josh Allen definitely had a big, big game this weekend. Like, I like Josh Allen. I really think that he's got the potential to be like a very, very good quarterback in this league. I don't like using the word elite, so I'm not going to say it because I frankly hate that word. I hate when we talk about elite quarterbacks. So I just go bad, good, very good. That's it for me. I cannot stand using the word elite, but I think Josh Allen's going to be a very good quarterback in this league someday. And you know what? It's starting to see the budding process happen right now with him. Now I expected that game to be a shootout, without a doubt. I knew that Seattle's defense was terrible.
Amazing what can happen when you get some weapons.
Yeah, like, exactly. I mean, as it is right now, all he has is Stephon Diggs. So, I mean, if you get somebody else in there, he's only going to get better. But I do have a little bit of a gripe with the Bills this weekend because they did ruin a sweet 7-team teaser for me. I won 6 games out of the 7-team teaser. The only game that I lost was Seattle because I just for some reason was thinking the Seahawks are gonna win, or at least put up a fight. I mean, so you know what, Josh Allen, screw you.
I mean, their
Just
offense did, but their defense couldn't do anything.
Oh my God, it was ridiculous. It was just insane. And every time you thought Russell Wilson was gonna like lead some magical comeback, like he'd come down, score a touchdown, the Bills would just score a touchdown of their own right away. So like they just were not they couldn't even cut into the lead. You can't even blame Russell Wilson at that point. It's not even his fault. Okay. See, now we get all the positivity out of the way. Okay, now we really start getting it to people. So my burnt toast player of this week is my man TB12, Tom Brady. I mean, boy, my God, what? I just, you know what? It's like you almost come at a loss for words, but how in the world you have all those weapons? And listen, we know who you are, Tom Brady. You're the quarterback GOAT. You got 6 rings, blah, 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 blah. We get it. Okay, we get it. But this is a New Orleans Saints team in your division, and not only was this building up as a revenge game for the first game of the year when you guys got beat, and everyone kind of was just, saying that, oh, the Bucks just don't have it together yet on offense, which is perfectly understandable. I mean, you got a new quarterback in there. You got a bunch of new guys around Tom Brady, so like, that was understandable. But coming into this game, you didn't just lose. You got absolutely annihilated on the field. This game was over by halftime. It was over. There was not a single thing the Bucks could do on offense. Tom Brady's out here throwing 3 interceptions, no touchdowns, looking like Baker Mayfield against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, it was bad all around. And you got Antonio Brown. You got Antonio Brown in there, Mike Evans, Godwin was back. And I mean, Tom Brady, you just had no control over this game whatsoever. There was nothing you could have done to make that any better. You guys just got run up and down the table by Drew Brees and the Saints. And mind you, I don't know. The Saints, I feel like this was more of a game about them. They got Michael Thomas back. Michael Thomas didn't even get a touchdown. To be fair, he really didn't do much. I think he had like 44 catches for about 47 yards. And they still 30-pieced the Bucks, who, you got Colin Cowherd last week saying, oh, the Bucks are second best team in the NFL. Yeah, okay, buddy. I mean, about that. And then they lose, and the Steelers, who are undefeated, are still not in the top 3, but whatever.
Yeah.
That was just Tom Brady. You are officially a piece of burnt toast right now. You got a chance to redeem yourself a little bit, but I'm telling you right now, with all the hype around this Bucks team, if you guys don't even at least go to the NFC Championship game, there's going to be a lot of talk in the media, and it's going to be a lot of talk that you do not like.
That third interception was so awful because it's one of those throws that it's like the prayer throws where you just have to try to heave it as far as you can, and he did, and the wind, and there's no wind where they were playing at. It just carried barely past the line of scrimmage, barely past the first down marker, and the defender is just sitting there looking at it like, is this real life? Is that the ball? Just it's just right there. It's coming straight towards me. I don't have to do anything. It's just right there. That was one of the worst throws I have ever seen by a quarterback, and rightfully deserving of being burnt toast this week, because that's what Brady was.
Yeah, it was almost like Tom Brady had himself a Eli Manning bad game flashback, and just like he had like an out-of-body experience, and bad Eli took over. Like that's what it reminded me of.
Eli still haunts him to this day.
Is still
to this day.
You can't get away.
My burnt toast this week is a head coach, and it is Frank Reich, the head coach of the Colts. And the reason why I say that is because the Colts, I don't know what it is about the Colts. On paper, they're supposed to be a good team, and it's not necessarily a strong division. Yeah, you've got the Titans. Yeah, it's going to be really difficult to beat the Titans for the foreseeable future. But, I mean, Jacksonville and Houston are the other 2 teams. So you should easily come in second place, and you're supposed to have a good enough team to where you can probably get into a wild card spot, which may even happen. But they put up a terrible, terrible performance against the Ravens. That's who they played. Yeah, the Ravens. Sorry, I was on the wrong week for some reason. That's why I was prolonging my sentence, because I switched to something and it wasn't on the correct week. Anyway, but yeah, and this is coming from and it especially looks worse today when Lamar Jackson is talking about how defenses are calling out their plays. Like, he's walking up to the line of scrimmage, making sure everybody's ready and set, and you have defenders screaming, hey, they're going to run, they're going to pass, watch this, watch that. And he's like, oh, like, they're calling, they know exactly what we're going to do. And yet the Colts put up a stinker in the second half. They kept it close, but then they just throw up the stinker. And I think a lot of that has to do with the coaching. Reich has to be better. He's I think the reason why he's not, more so like, the crispy, is because I think he stays because they will luck themselves into wins, much as Philip Rivers has for most of his career. He will. I mean, he's like Matt Ryan and Matthew Stafford, where you'll luck into some wins, and that'll keep the coach there for longer than what they need to be. And then I think that they probably may find a young quarterback. Maybe it's like Sam Darnold, or the reports came out today, and I think we were even talking about it in Slack, that maybe they were looking at Carson Wentz as a possibility if the Eagles continue to be the Eagles and make stupid decisions and think that everything is their quarterback's fault and not their front office and their head coach's fault. Or, maybe they go for Sam Darnold. Maybe they have maybe they get a really high pick, maybe, which they really won't this year. But there's a lot of young quarterbacks out there that could be available for them, and I think that's what prolongs them and keeps them there. Plus, if they do get Wentz, Reich was the offensive coordinator during that Super Bowl run, so he's worked with Wentz, and that could be a good thing. I don't know, but yeah, it's just he's got to be better. He's got to coach this team better. He's got to make adjustments, and in the wins that they have, I mean, they're small wins, and he's gotten beat by a lot of really bad teams. He's the reason why Jacksonville has a win this season. It's because Jacksonville came back and spanked them.
Yeah, that's embarrassing. Giving Jacksonville a win at this point. Almost as bad as if somebody were to give the Jets a win this year. But, this Colts team is, I don't know, they are like such a enigma to me, because they have a really good defense, which I keep hearing every single week. I keep hearing about this damn defense. That's all I hear about. But like, I just don't. But like, the offense should be a lot better than it is. I mean, you have players. Like, it's not like you don't. Like, you have a really good offensive line. Yeah. And another, Jonathan Taylor, who I was hearing so much about before the fantasy draft this year. Like, I kept hearing Jonathan Taylor was going to be like, one of those like surprise rookies that, has like a really great year because something about, the Colts really like him in their camp, and Marlon Mack they're going to like work him out. Well, Marlon Mack got hurt within like the first week of the year. So Jonathan Taylor he hasn't done anything. Philip Rivers, he has nothing. Like, he has nothing left in the tank.
No, he needs to go back to like his 10 kids and just retire.
It's actually.
But I understand. I understand why he wants to keep playing, because he needs money for those 10, like the dozen kids that dude has.
He's got 10 kids. He's got 10 kids and won't curse at any single one of them.
No.
And I mean, and also just to put a cap on Philip Rivers' season, I'm sure you've seen him get eaten up by the turf monster on that pick for the pick six when he was trying to make that tackle.
Oh my!
He looked like a dead
funniest picture of the year.
That was great. He looked like a dead fish flail.
Great meme potential. I've seen some good memes from that.
I'm actually very happy that he did that, because you know what? I feel like that turf monster was just a little bit worse than Daniel Jones's, only because at least the Giants scored on that drive. That was a turf monster leading to a pick six. So I feel like that was a little bit worse. Philip Rivers, like, he just looked terrible this year. Like, I feel bad for the Colts at times. I really do. Like, they had Andrew Luck. Just, Andrew Luck was a really, really good player. A couple more years and he probably would have been even better. But you know what? I mean, like, I'm not gonna rip on anybody for retiring early, because I get the whole thing with football.
And
cares.
And they didn't have an offensive line when he was there.
Exactly.
Like, it's better, but the only person I feel sorry for is Andrew Luck, because he got put in a situation where his health was at severe risk, and he's like, I'm tired of being injured. I'm tired of going through rehab, getting better, coming back, and then just to get hurt a few weeks into the season again. And there's maybe, and there's a lot of pressure on him to come back. And maybe he comes back, maybe he doesn't. So I only blame the Colts on that one.
Yeah, that's just Yeah, that's something they really dropped the ball on. They really should have made sure
But
that
no, it is definitely a sad situation. I loved Andrew Luck.
yeah,
I thought he did have Hall of Fame potential. I don't like to, and even though he really didn't have major wins under his belt, he was just there's good quarterbacks that do okay with bad teams, or you can identify that they're a good quarterback but understand that they're on a bad team. He didn't have great teams, and that dude was carrying them to the playoffs every single year. That's
yeah,
how good he was. He just needed an offensive line so he could get an extra second in the pocket, let the receivers do their thing, a few more weapons, solidify that defense, and then boom, you're talking about Super Bowl contenders. It'd be the Colts and the Chiefs every year
yeah.
almost.
I'd agree with that. Tell you what though, I don't know. I got a real funny feeling that we haven't seen the last of Andrew Luck. I feel like one of these days, whether it's next year or the year after, maybe I think maybe he just takes a couple years off, get his body right, comes back to the NFL, whether that's with the Colts or with somebody else. I don't know, but
I'd love it. I'd love him to come back.
I don't think we've seen the last of him. I think we'll see him on the field once again. I really do. All right. Oh, so now we're gonna get into our extra crispy category. The one of my favorites. This one. I'm just gonna let you know. This guy right here on the Giants. Of course, I always got to bring a Giant into this. Everyone, you know what? This is going to be a common theme you guys are going to see on this show.
Hey, you with the Giants, Chad with the Eagles,
With the Eagles.
Brian with the Steelers. Like, it's good. Go ahead.
I'll always have a Giant on this show because you know what? Until they prove me otherwise, most of them are toast. And this guy is definitely toast. Golden Tate is not only toast, he's super extra crispy, burnt up. Your house is burning down. You left your toaster on way too long, and you come back and your house is ashes and cinders. Golden Tate, I mean, listen, man, I hated the contract to begin with. Gettleman gave this man he gave him way too much money for a receiver that was, everyone knows, way past his prime. And in my honest opinion, had no place on this Giants team. We were never in a win now situation from when we got him to this point. There was never a win now situation with the Giants. It was always just looking to develop the young talent. So why on earth do we bring in a old prima donna wide receiver with all the baggage that he brings? I mean, I'll just say this. You got a guy that had so much beef with Russell Wilson in Seattle that they had to kick him out. Russell Wilson is like the nicest guy on the planet Earth. Who the hell has beef with Russell Wilson? I mean, seriously. Like, that should just tell you all you needed to know about Golden Tate's character. And, we're in this season. Okay, listen, the Giants are clearly not ready to win games. They are, like, decent enough to be in these games, but they're not good enough to win. Like, Joe Judge has got this group of guys. Listen, their talent is not there. The talent's not there, but Joe Judge is really squeezing out as much talent juice as he can out of these guys. And I applaud that. But Golden Tate, man, you catch the potentially game-tying touchdown against the Buccaneers. You really got to sit there and go yell into the TV screen about throw me the damn ball. Why should I throw you the ball? Golden Tate gets, I think, close to the worst separation out of any receiver on the Giants roster. And I wrote a post about this on Monday. I tell you what, Golden Tate, you want Daniel Jones to be force-feeding you the ball? This Daniel Jones is Mr. Turnover himself. Okay? Mm-hmm. He only just recently last week had no turnovers in a game for the second time in his career, and he's played well over 20 games. You want him force feeding you the ball? Mm-hmm. I mean, like, that's just terrible. And then what's even better is, so Joe Judge, obviously the Giants find out about it. It was on the broadcast all over the internet, and then Golden Tate's wife is going and talking about it. The Giants aren't using him correctly, and blah, blah, blah. And you know what? I'm sorry, but as a Giants fan, I have dealt with enough prima donna wide receivers, and I'm sorry. But, like, if you especially aren't putting up production-wise, I do not. I really don't want to hear it. Like I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear. Like Odell, I didn't mind it as much only because Odell was consistently a 1,200 yard, 10+ touchdown guy a year. So I didn't really mind all his antics. Well, the kicking net thing, I didn't like that, but we can get into that later on in the show. But Golden Tate, man, you are extra crispy this week because, listen, if you look at Joe Judge comes from that Belichick tree. Joe Judge don't take no shit from nobody. I'm telling you right now. Golden Tate sat his ass at home, watched the Giants win a game without him on TV, watch him get easily replaced by an undrafted rookie in Austin Mack out of Ohio State. So you know what, Golden Tate? You're gone. He's going to be off this team either at the end of the year or sometime between now and the end of the year. He will be gone, and I cannot wait for it.
I don't know what it is about receivers and them being the biggest divas in the NFL. In any sport, really. I don't know what it is about them. But, I mean, I agree with you. I don't see why he's complaining that much. He's getting the ball a decent amount, 29 targets, 22 receptions. He's also just on a bad team. You shouldn't have, when you sign with a bad team, even if you get a big contract. I mean, I don't blame you for signing and getting that big contract and getting some guaranteed money, but you should know that your team is garbage right now. They're not that great.
Yeah, no one's going to be giving you the ball that much.
And then I know, and then it's like there's a lot of questions about Daniel Jones right now. You know, there's a lot of people that aren't convinced that he's the guy, and I think that I'm honestly convinced that they may replace him if they get one of the top 2 picks and they either get Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields and is there just sitting for them. I think they're too good of talent to pass up, you know, and you may not get anything for Daniel Jones, but still, I think you can't pass up on that talent. And then maybe things get better for him. But yeah, I agree. Joe Judge needs to part with him. Since it's so young in the rebuild, this is like precious time with the team because you have to establish an identity. You have to establish a culture, especially when you've been losing for so long, when it's been so long since you've gotten to a Super Bowl and pretty much no one is left around from the winning culture that used to be there. You have to rebuild it. You can't have any of that. You know, so I would say just get rid of him, do anything you can, even if you have to give like a higher pick or even the same level of pick and package it along with him to get a later round pick, it's worth it to get that out of the way, clear up the cap, bring in, you know, and just do whatever you can to make sure that he doesn't taint your locker room.
Yeah,
and that's why, like, you know, Miami has been talked about for like Antonio Brown or for Le'Veon Bell. And I was like, I don't want them anywhere near Tua, and Brian Flores ain't gonna take up with that.
No,
because I know how mad he was. One about the leak that happened when Fitzpatrick found out because they made the decision and Flores wasn't able to tell Fitzpatrick. Like it got leaked onto Twitter, and then his kids' friends were messaging his kids, and his kids told Fitzpatrick. I keep wanting to say Fitzmagic. It rolls off the tongue better than Fitzpatrick.
It really does.
Fitzpatrick. So Fitzpatrick's kids were telling Fitzpatrick that he got replaced by Tua. So I know he got mad at that, and I know he was probably upset that Fitzpatrick went and publicly, you know, said the comments that he did about how heartbroken and hurt he was, and that he thought that this was his team, and that this is only one of 2 times that he thought it was his team. So, yeah, Joe just needs to nip that in the butt real quick.
You gotta get this guy out of here. Listen, there's a reason Seattle and Detroit kicked Golden Tate out. I mean, you gotta start to.
Detroit doesn't want him.
Yeah, listen, man. If Detroit doesn't want you, there's a problem with you. Like, I'm just being real honest. There is a definite problem. And you know what? Honestly, like I'm sorry. I just can't get over the fact that he had such a beef with Russell Wilson. They had to get rid of him. Like, I'm sorry. Russell Wilson's like such a good. He could be. He's like the Tim Tebow pastor type, only a lot better player. But like I just don't understand how could anyone get mad at Russell Wilson? He's just such a nice guy.
Oh no, man. All right, so mine, it's not a player, and it's technically not even NFL, but I just have to talk about it because the subject is NFL.
Okay.
So my burning down the house, toaster's on fire, toaster's exploded. It's so bad that even the neighbor's house is being threatened. The fire department, and then it's like California summer droughts this past year, so there's the entire possibility that the entire state just burns to the ground. It's Colin Cowherd.
Oof.
And and it's because, and the only reason why I didn't have him on here until about maybe 10 minutes before we started recording, because I was just scrolling through Twitter real quick, and I looked to see what he had talked about today, and it popped up on my timeline about him talking about Tua again. This dude needs to make up his damn mind. One, we don't want him on the Tua wagon anymore, okay? He jumped off voluntarily, and it's gone. So this is what he was talking about today. This is the whole saga of Cowherd with Tua. He goes from, for 2 to 3 years, talking about Tua at Alabama, saying it's left-handed Drew Brees, left-handed Russell Wilson. He's small, but he's quick, he's agile, throwing mechanics are spectacular, good decision maker, great leader, just hyping him up. And he's like, he's got to go number one, he's got to go number one, he's got to go number one. Whoever gets it, Tua's going one, Tua's going one. Even when Joe Burrow was having that great of a season, his final season at LSU, breaking breaking a ton of records, Cowherd is still like, I go with Tua, I'm going with Tua, Tua's my guy. Then the week of, not even the season before, not even like looking at everything, it is the week of, up until this point, he has still been preaching about how much he wants Tua. He says Tua's not going to work in the NFL. Says it the week of his first start. And then he has the start that he has against the Rams, a great defense. And he's like, see, I told you, I'm worried about him. It's not going to work. And then the Arizona game comes up. He plays phenomenally in the Arizona game. It's about as great of a bounce back week as you could have for any quarterback. But it's just his second game in the season. Has a lot of beautiful throws. He seemed more calm in the pocket. Whenever the pocket started to collapse, he showed his mobility, showed his smarts, was able to get out in the run and juke some defenders out of their shoes, broke their ankles to get some extra yards. And he's going around preaching about how it was the greatest game he's watched all year, the most entertaining game. And then he's talking about how Tua is going to start working because of Brian Flores. And then today he starts comparing Flores and Tua to like Bill Cowherd, and Tomlin with Big Ben. He's talking about defensive coaches and with great quarterbacks, they're dynasty makers. It's like, that's what makes a dynasty, and it's like Tony Dungy and Peyton, Super Bowl, and the list goes on and on and on of defensive guys like Bill Parcells, like stuff, like he just starts naming off like 5 or 6 guys. Colin, dude, and it's like, this may not even make sense for this segment, but it just pisses me off so much. And I can't believe he just walks around like everything's fine. Like Cowherd hops on his show and is just like, yeah, I knew it all along. They're going to be great. But now he's starting to crown Tua and Flores as the greatest quarterback and coach duo of all time. And it drives me up a freaking wall. I don't even know what to say anymore. Go ahead.
That's great. Because Colin Cowherd, he pissed me off earlier in the week, too. I think it was on...
He needs to be fired. He needs to lose his show. Just give it to his daughter, Liv. She doesn't even know sports. She'll just get all the simps to come out, and then the ratings may be fixed.
Oh, my God. Look, he got me really mad earlier in the week when... was it him? No, it wasn't Colin Cowherd. It was Stephen A. Smith got me mad earlier in the week. But Colin Cowherd, too, because he did it the week prior, okay? Colin Cowherd with his herd hierarchy, putting the Bucks ahead of the undefeated Steelers, just grinded my gears so much, because like we've seen how vulnerable the Bucks have looked, and I'm sorry, but your record says Your record, you are what your record says you are, as Bill Parcells once said. Okay? The Steelers are undefeated. You want to say the Chiefs are – you want to put Chiefs number one? You know what? I'm not going to dispute it. Like, they're the defending Super Bowl champs, 7-1. That's fine. Leave them there. 8-1 now, I think. Yeah, leave them there. Go ahead. Yeah. But the Steelers are 8-0. And you're going to have –
they're the number 2 team.
You're going to have 2 lost teams ahead of them? I mean, seriously? Like – do you even hear yourself think? Like what? Like, how does that make any sense? The Steelers have beaten everybody that they needed to beat up until this point. They are now in a weak part of their schedule, clearly looking ahead. That's why the Cowboys game was so close, because they were looking ahead. They're on the road. Like, it was just one of those trap games where you knew that it was going to be close. But look at who the Cowboys are and look at who the Steelers are. That's why the Steelers won that game, because they are who they are. They are a great team with a great defense. They got a really good offense. That's why they won that game. And for these analysts, this just goes out to all those stupid expert analysts on ESPN, with experts who know just as much as I do. Okay, it's ridiculous. Some of these guys have been playing football, coaching football their entire lives, and they know just as much as I do. I mean, I think Trey wrote a post on this earlier in the week about one of the Barstool guys calling out these experts on NBC with their weekly picks for the Sunday night games. The best record was 5-4. I mean, I'm sorry, but I think I could do better than that. I'm pretty sure I have done better than that, to be honest. Like, it's just like ridiculous at this point. All these so-called experts do is just, I feel like they just make arguments just for the sake of making an argument, even though they don't even believe it. Because some of these takes are so ridiculously egregious that it's like no sane person who watches these games could even think of things like this. Like Stephen A. Smith on Monday went and put the Saints and the Bills ahead of the Steelers, all based on the fact that the Steelers only won by 5 points against the Cowboys. I mean, that's just so stupid. And
it happens in the NFL, though.
Exactly.
Like it's different than any other sport.
You said it on the Slack, I think. It's just a week-to-week league, and that's just how.
Yeah, and that's why you have upsets all the time, even in the playoffs. You can have a number 1 seed. You know, the Kansas City Chiefs, they aren't safe because they're the number 1 seed. You could easily. It's about matchup, and you just get one shot. And if you blow it, you blow it. It's not like the NBA, where you lose a game in the playoffs, and it's like, it's fine. It's the best out of 4. We lose 1, we can even lose 2. We can lose 3 games, and we can still win the series. We're the better team. We're going to win the series. Doesn't always happen in the NFL. It's just sometimes the ball rolls your way. Sometimes you get a close call. Maybe there's a no call. Maybe there's like a pass that they call completed but shouldn't be completed, but there's not enough evidence to overturn it, so it stays like the call stands. There's 100 different factors that could go your way. So it's stupid, and every time I bring up Cowherd on anything, I keep saying I'm done with him. I'm done paying attention to him, and then I just see more.
Sucks you right back in.
I don't see how you can walk onto your set and on your radio show and in front of thousands of people on live television, how he can keep doing this, not just week to week, but day to day, changing the way he does. I used to respect him. That's obviously why I started following him, because he had a lot of good points. He was right a lot of times. Now he's just all over the place. He's like the meme. He says, I'm playing both sides, so that way I'm always right. No, it doesn't work that way. You can't say in the summertime that you think Drew Lock is an MVP candidate, and then after a season where he's been injured most of the time and he's on a rebuilding Broncos franchise, and say, I'm 5 for 5 on these. I'm out of Andrew Luck. I've told you the whole time, not going to be good. Just shut up, dude. Oh, okay. Let's move on before I get even more angry.
Cowherd just got to stay away from the Dolphins players, especially Tua. Just please just stay away from them, man. So we'll go on to the toast of the week. Now, this isn't just a player. It's not just an executive. It's not just an owner. Okay? I got myself an entire team on Toast of the Week this week. We got an entire team. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But I'm sorry. You you're gonna get scolded here. You're gonna get scolded. You got Antonio Brown, Rob Gronkowski, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Ronald Jones, Leonard Fournette, Tom Brady. How many offensive weapons do you need to put up 3 points on Sunday Night Football primetime game? I mean, my God. And you were playing at home. I mean, like, I know home field ain't what it is right now with COVID, but Tampa allows fans there, so you still have some fans. And I'm sorry, but those fans that you had at that game, you sent them all home depressed and sad. They probably stopped themselves at the liquor store before they got home. They couldn't believe that they just got absolutely annihilated on national television like that. This Tampa Bay Bucks team, I mean, it's just like, you know what this really reminds me of? It reminds me of that Eagles team back in, oh, what was it? I think it was like 2010 or 2011, where Vince Young was the backup quarterback and called them the football dream team, because they had like Mike Vick, Deshaun Jackson, Nnamdi Asomugha.
Yeah.
Terrible. They were like 5-12 and were just, or 5-11 and were just awful the whole year. I mean, but this Bucks team obviously isn't that bad because they are 6-3. But I'm telling you right now, they are not winning the games they need to win. Like, you just lost to the Saints twice. Okay, so you just got swept by the Saints. So your division chances are now very, very slim, as the Saints look like they are picking it up as much of like they always do. They start off the season real bad. We always have these talks about Drew Brees is old. Drew Brees is going to be retiring soon. I still think he's going to be retiring soon, maybe after this year or next year, but he's still getting the job done because you know what? He's friggin' Drew Brees and Sean Payton. And the Bucks, you just got a ragtag group of mercenaries, basically. And that's what happens when you go up against a real team who's been together for a while. You just got your faces stomped in. I mean, Tom Brady he's been having a really good year, but he's also had some really crazy moments. Just like that Chicago Bears game where he's looking at the sideline, holding four fingers up. Oh wait, that's not fourth down. Oh, that's not fourth. Oh man, it's like early onset dementia setting into this old man on the field, and it's like I'm watching him age right before my eyes, and it's just hilarious.
It's sad.
It's so sad. And then he comes out. In this game, 3 interceptions, no touchdowns. He looked about as bad can be. And then you got Bruce Arians yet again going into the public, calling out his quarterback, which I still don't really agree with calling out your quarterback, especially when the quarterback's Tom Brady. I mean, I'm sorry, but like the guy's got 6 Super Bowl rings. I mean, he can have a bad game every once and then. I just don't think I don't know, man. I just think those things should be behind closed door. I just don't understand what the whole calling out your quarterback and the public media is really doing for you guys. But you got all these guys on your team, okay? I never want to ever see the Buccaneers lose by 35 points again, especially on national television in prime time when it's taken my time. I'm watching this game, watching this absolute snooze fest because the Saints are just running up the score. I never want to see this type of performance again. Never.
Man, I mean, you hit probably every point on the head, and I'll just again say that last interception was so bad. And just that performance was so bad. That is embarrassing. And it's like it's one thing for nothing to go your way in a game, but if you're a good team, you can still keep it relatively close. They just got their asses kicked in every way possible. Like it's incredible. I mean, just when you look at the stats of this, and then again, we beat it into the ground earlier, but it's just, the weapons that this team has, they were held to eight team yards. Ronald Jones had 3 carries for 9 yards. Leonard Fournette, 1 carry, 0 yards. Blaine Gabbert, 1 carry, -1 yard. So as a team, 5 carries, 8 yards. That can't happen, man. That cannot happen. This was just a piss poor performance. by them. And it was embarrassing. And yeah, it's Tom Brady in a stacked defensive team, or just a stacked team in general. So they're going to get a lot of these primetime games, and I've been saying it for a while, and I'll continue to say it. They are the poor man's Kansas City Chiefs. All these weapons, all these big names, but they're not as good as the Chiefs are.
No, they're just not. And I'm sorry, but if I hear one more, if I really hear another person go and start telling me the Bucks are still the favorite to come out of the NFC, I'm gonna kill
No.
somebody because that conversation is dead. And you know what? Just because they got on a little hot streak after Tom Brady's senior moment against the Bears, did not make them a Super Bowl favorite in my eyes. Okay, I don't want to hear about. I really do not want to hear about the Bucks until they got it rolling and they figure it out. If they figure it out, that's a big if. Just get it together, man. Just get it together.
Yeah. All right. So mine, I'm not going with the whole team, but mine is it's a half a team basically, and it's the Seahawks defense. Man, how far the mighty have fallen. The Legion of Boom. This is about the complete opposite of the Legion of Boom, and I talked about earlier. Gave high praise to Josh Allen, and rightfully so. But if you're the Seattle Seahawks, how do you let a team put up 44 on you? It's just I believe it. I'm watching snippets of the game as the day goes on. I'm mostly trying to watch the Cardinals and the Cardinals and Dolphins game just because I really wanted to pay attention to Tua. But I'm switching back to Red Zone. Watching everything through the NFL, and I just could not believe what was happening. And the only person I trust on that team right now is Russell Wilson and an extent DK Metcalf. Those are really the only two people on that team in general that I trust, and they're the reason why. You take Russell Wilson off this team, then their record may very well be flipped. They're 6-2 right now. They may be 2-6 or 1-7 because this defense has been playing horribly, and it's not for a lack of effort on the offense. The offense scored 34 points in an NFL game. You scored 34 points, you're going to win maybe 99% of those games. But this defense just gave up 44 points to the Bills. Granted, the Bills are a great team, but I mean, like look at some of this. They gave up 25 to the Falcons, 30 to the Patriots, far subpar teams. The Cowboys gave up 31. 23 to the Dolphins, 26 to the Vikings, 37 to the Cardinals, 27 to the 49ers, and then 44 to the Bills. And they play some really good teams of going on again. They've obviously got the Cardinals and the Rams again. They've got the 49ers again. Granted, they also have a stretch where they play the Eagles, Giants, Jets, and Washington. So, that may be a little bit easier on them. But it's going to be interesting to see because even bad teams are putting up really good numbers. And if you have an offensive starter on any of the teams left on their schedule, start them, play them. When you see the Seahawks defense, they are one of the worst, statistically one of the worst. The eye test, they don't even pass anything on the eye test. They are a garbage team. Receivers are left open. Running lanes are, you can drive 3 semi trucks through them. It's just getting ridiculous. And I used to be like, it's okay. Russell Westbrook will carry them. That's how maybe they can still win the Super Bowl. I don't think they can win a Super Bowl anymore with this defense. It is that atrocious of a defense.
Yeah, Russell Wilson. You mean you said Russell Westbrook?
But yeah, I keep doing that. And also, there was
It's
breaking news
okay.
about Russell Westbrook just
It's
now.
okay.
So
It's okay. It's okay. I don't want to hear Russell Westbrook and championship in the same sentence. That's all.
yeah, Russell Wilson. Excuse me.
But
What? Like I said, there was breaking news about him. It's like officially come out that he's asked for a trade, pretty much.
oh, wow. Okay. Damn Russell Westbrook. But
Yeah.
about Russell Wilson and the Seahawks, they like that defense is just horrid by like leaps and bounds horrid. I've actually started to just play matchup in fantasy. I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
who's playing the Seahawks this week on my team, and I'm just starting them. Like it could be the third receiver on some team, and I'm gonna start them anyway just because they're playing the Seahawks. I mean, there have been teams just lighting up the scoreboard on these guys. It's just every week, week in, week out. And you know what kills me is like I get they've had a lot of injuries in the secondary up until this point. They've had a ton of injuries, but you know what? I mean, they still have some like premier players. They have Jamal Adams. Um, he came back last week, right? Against the
Yeah,
Bills. Yeah. So
yeah.
he came back and
They
they
gave
got
up 44.
44 dropped on him. So and then they just got Carlos Dunlap, who also played in that game. So you got two guys who just came back. One you traded for, and one just came back from injury, played in that game, and you had probably the worst defensive day of the year. And like, I just don't understand. Like, man, this defense, like, even I mean, they still have Pete Carroll. Like, I know the Legion of Boom was like the players were filthy, nasty. They were that was one of the best defenses of all time. But I mean, like even Pete Carroll's scheme isn't working. I feel like he's gonna have
No.
a breakdown moment one day where he's just gonna go on into the media and be like, I'm sorry, I just these guys can't play. I don't know what else to tell you, but they just can't play. I can't coach them. They can't play on defense. So you know what? I'm just gonna leave the defense alone, and maybe we luck into some turnovers somewhere along the way. But this just isn't working.
Yeah, if you have a quarterback on average, so like even terrible teams, but like on average, your quarterback could possibly they're giving up 362 yards a game to quarterbacks, and then they've given up allowed 16 total passing touchdowns, play day games. That's 2 touchdowns a game. So if you got a quarterback, or if there's one on a waiver wire that you can get for really cheap, if you're in a league like an auction league or anything, pick up the quarterback that's going to be playing the Seahawks, because they're going to have a decent game, especially in those deep leagues.
Yeah, that's honestly what I do. Just like
And that's just awful. Over
every time.
330 something. It's just wow.
Um,
They'd be a Super Bowl favorite if they could just get a stop, but they
yeah,
can't
I
stop
was
anybody.
talking about them as like a dark horse, like more of like a dark horse, but not really like a real like Super Bowl favorite. But this past week, kind of brought the Seattle hype back down to earth a little bit, where it's like,
Yeah.
okay, great defenses maybe don't necessarily win championships anymore, but you got to have a competent defense at least.
Yeah.
Like
You have to have a defense.
You
You
gotta
got to stop somebody.
like at this rate, I don't even think that defense could get a stop on a Big 12 offense right now.
No. And I mean, this was against obviously a really good team in the Bills. But what's going to happen when they get to the playoffs and they got to play like the Packers? You know, someone, another really good team. They're going to get destroyed. Aaron Rodgers is going to have the best day of his career.
Yeah, it's gonna get real ugly for them. I'll tell you that. Oh man, but all right. Well, we'll move on to now soggy toast. Soggy toast. You left them out in the rain all day, or in this case, you left them out all year, and it's getting bad. It's getting bad. He's starting to grow mold on him at this point. We got Kirk Cousins. Okay, Kirk Cousins is a guy that, I mean, what, like, I don't know what happened. What happened to this guy? Like, he was just like, I don't know. He was never really that good to begin with, but I don't know why all these teams like were so interested in him, and the Vikings, of course, were the sad souls to give this man a big contract because he just bamboozled them, took their money. He is not the guy they thought he was going to be. And this year,
Did they give him a contract extension too?
yeah, they did.
Wow.
Like, I mean, that's just on the Vikings front office at this point. But I mean, listen, Kirk Cousins has just been terrible this year. Like, he has been awful. He hasn't done nearly anything. I mean, the game against the Packers, not that he had to do anything, but Dalvin Cook just put them on his shoulders and just won them that game. And Dalvin Cook did the same thing against the Lions. Like, I don't really. There's not too many teams that will have a running back that will carry you to wins, but this team is going to need it because there's Kirk Cousins can't hit the broadside of a barn. He's terrible, turnover machine. Stephon Diggs is gone. Adam Thielen as the number one receiver clearly can't get it done by himself right now. I do like Justin Jefferson a lot. The problem is Kirk Cousins really can't get this man the ball because Kirk Cousins is just horrible. And listen, the Vikings are just this year is just going to be chalked up as a lost season for them, most likely. And I'm sorry, but Kirk Cousins, that is just not your man because there's no way he's going to pick it up. Like there's no such thing as picking it up for this guy. He's pretty much a glorified game manager at this point who thinks he's a gunslinger, which is why he throws so many interceptions, in my opinion. So, Kirk Cousins, you are a soggy piece of toast this week and this entire season. And I really hope that the Vikings learn their lesson and stop giving guys like you contracts.
You know they won't, though. You know they won't.
Yeah, of course.
It's like, like I said earlier, Dalvin Cook is the one that deserves to get paid over your quarterback, and that is a sad state to be in for the Vikings, especially that honestly for the past couple of years there's been times over the past decade where they've been in real contention. They've gone pretty far, but it's also really bad when Case Keenum was the guy that's gotten you the farthest in recent years. But yeah, his time in the NFL, I think, is getting close to being done, at least as a starter.
Yeah.
But that contract is just so big and so massive. I don't know how you can move it, and I don't know how you could, justify, having him as a backup. And it's an awful situation to be in. I wish. Well, I mean, I don't want to say that I wish because I'm not a Vikings fan, but just that if only the front office was smarter and realized that it's Kirk Cousins, then they wouldn't have given him that extension, let it run out. Maybe you draft a quarterback. Maybe, like we mentioned earlier, there's a lot of quarterbacks that are probably going to be on the move this offseason. You try to get one of them, but I don't know what to do with Kirk Cousins anymore. I agree.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins, he's just it's like I don't know why, but I have this weird I have this feeling that teams honestly should just really stop just giving out massive contracts to quarterbacks they didn't draft, only for the simple fact is you just honestly you don't know what you're getting. You really don't know what you're getting with whoever you pick up from another team. And the only reason I say that is because maybe they just had one good year, or maybe they just had two decent years, and you sit there and think, oh, if they have a better team around them, maybe they'll be more successful. Honestly, I think the best route to go with quarterbacks is through the draft, unless there is a really young quarterback out there that a team clearly just is about to it's just not working out with them. I would say the Jets and Sam Darnold is just a unique situation where they're going to get the number one pick. You can't pass up Trevor Lawrence, but I do think Sam Darnold has talent in this league and he can be a good quarterback. Just depends on the right system. So that could be an option, but I still think building your team through the draft is probably one of the best ways to go about it.
I agree. Yeah. So we'll go ahead and move to mine. And this time it is a full team. And I've been saying this throughout the season. I can't believe that there were people that actually believed in them. But it is an implosion of epic proportions, and I am here for it. And it's the Chicago Bears. When they were 5-1, people were like, Bears legitimate. Maybe they're just good. Stuff like this. And I'm like, no, they're not good. They are the Bears. For those first 5 games, they did not beat but one above 500 team. All their other wins, Lions, Giants, Falcons, and Panthers are sub 500 teams. They beat the Colts 19-11, and then they only lost by 1 to the Bucks. But then they start facing, well, they faced the Rams. I don't necessarily call them a real threat, but they lost to them, and then the Saints, and then the Titans. And I've said this joke 100 times already, but they are who we thought they were. That's how the Bears are, and they're just a terrible football team. Nick Foles. I mean, it is bad. It is bad when fans are clamoring for Mitchell Trubisky to come back, and they are so just lost that they think that Trubisky really is the savior of this team when he's not. Granted, the team has played better under Trubisky than it is Nick Foles, but you know what? 5 is still a bigger number than 2 is, but it's not a 10. You know?
Yeah.
And that's how I see about it with the Bears. They're imploding. They may finish 500. They may finish a game above 500. 9-7 maybe, I think, is their ceiling, their absolute ceiling. But they play the Packers twice. They still have the Vikings to play with. The Vikings, if Dalvin Cook keeps playing the way he is, then he's just going to destroy both those teams. Lions are, of course, weird wild cards. Never really know how to gauge them. And then the only 2 that I think they're going to be favored in are the Texans and the Jags. And I wouldn't put it past the Bears to pull the Bears, and they lose to one of those 2 teams.
Yeah, you could tell Chicago's getting real desperate when you're hooting and hollering for Mitch Trubisky to take back over.
Oh, it's so bad.
It's just it's really terrible. It's like crawling back to your ex of an abusive relationship that you know what you're gonna get out of it, but you're just so desperate that you're gonna go back anyway. That's exactly
just because it's slightly better than the relationship you're in right now.
Slightly better than what you've got going on right now doesn't mean that it's great. Doesn't mean that it's good at all. They just and Matt Nagy has like this. I a little bit feel bad for him, but not really, because like to me, I feel like Matt Nagy is kind of a dick. Like I don't like him. I don't understand. He hates Mitch Trubisky so much that you can tell in the press conferences, like after they would lose and Mitch Trubisky like had a really bad game, he'd be sitting there like, oh, the offense just couldn't move the ball. Like he wants to sit there and just flat out say my quarterback sucks. Like he's terrible. What do you want me to do?
Yeah, he's happier in losing with Foles than he is with winning in Trubisky, which I didn't, you're not going to win much with Trubisky either way. Yeah, and I don't put it past him where he's like intentionally sabotaging this season because maybe we are slightly good enough to win some games, but we're not legit with Trubisky. Let's keep Foles in. Let's tank the season. Let's try to get a quarterback.
Yeah, that's probably what they're going to end up doing. I mean, it sucks because they have a great defense. Like their defense is like really good, but the offense is so terrible that it's just hard.
Yeah.
They can't compete with good teams. Like they can't.
Even Allen Robinson's a great receiver too. Sorry to interrupt you, but
bad for Allen Robinson. He went from Blake Bortles to Mitch Trubisky to Nick Foles. I feel so bad for this guy. Can someone please get him to an all pro quarterback, please?
Hey, come to Miami. Come to Miami. We need a big playmaker. If he got to Miami, gosh, Tua would be insane. That offense would be insane. Draft. There's a left tackle. I'm forgetting his name, but I really want the Dolphins to draft him. Looks like with the Houston pick that they have. But if they could somehow pull it off to where they get Allen Robinson and then
Pernell,
yeah,
something like that.
Yeah. But they draft that left tackle with the Houston pick, somehow land Allen Robinson. Oh, I'm gonna be in heaven, man. And then just solidify that defense a little bit, and grab a running back and maybe like the 4th or 5th round that will do a little bit better job than the running backs we have right now. And it's gonna be beautiful.
The Dolphins are in a great spot with I'm sorry, but you got to write a little thank you note to Bill O'Brien.
Yeah, I know, and it's like I trash talk Bill O'Brien so much, but he is oddly enough probably the one man that would lead to the Dolphins' greatest success since Dan Marino and Don Shula.
I think if the Dolphins win a Super Bowl, you got to send Bill O'Brien a ring.
I would say, like as a favor, like get him a low level job on the coaching staff. But no, I don't want him. I don't want him anywhere near the team.
You don't want him
I'll send
anywhere.
him. I'll send him. I'll like personally send him a fruit basket of some sort and like a thank you note, a very long thank you note.
Bill O'Brien, man, helping out more teams.
Yeah, we got their first and second round pick this year, and that's going to be a high level second round pick to the point where it's like you got a first round caliber guy, but you're paying him second round money.
Honestly, Bill O'Brien should be arrested for what he did to the Houston Texans. Sean Watson should challenge him to a street fight on primetime television for what he did to his career. But anyway, we'll get off the Bill O'Brien slander. Save that again for another week because Bill O'Brien is a very common topic on this show. So we'll go into my predictions now. Prediction for Toast next week. Who's going to be a Toast player next week? And I'm telling you right now, it's going to be – I'm thinking it's going to be Antonio Brown. I'm sorry, but listen, Antonio Brown has a lot to prove. And, yeah, the quarterback didn't play well against the Saints, but Antonio Brown was not like anyone did anything, but he didn't do anything. And I feel like more eyes are going to be on AB. Now, granted, it's probably going to be more on his attitude and the way he participates with the team, not just produces, but, is like kind of a leader in the locker room and doesn't do any of his weird just I don't even know what a word to describe what he's been doing the past couple of years. Whatever that is, as long as he doesn't do that, he should be fine. But I don't know. I've had a bad feeling about this since they announced that he was getting looked at from teams, and then I had a really bad feeling when they said he was going to the Bucs because I just feel like that team is just not equipped to deal with the type of person that AB will be. And I'm telling you right now, we know prima donna wide receivers. For the first couple of weeks, they may be cool with not getting the ball as much. But I'm telling you, sooner rather than later, they're going to start begging for the ball, and then begging is going to turn into yelling, and then it's going to turn into antics on and off the field, and you're just going to have a cancer in your locker room, as Antonio Brown has proven time and time again that he is definitely a cancer in the locker room. So, Antonio Brown, you're my prediction for future Toast player.
I agree. I have no idea. He's such a great talent, and that's what sucks. But he is a locker room cancer, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens with him as we go along. And there's so many mouths to feed, but most of them are prima donnas, the biggest one being Antonio Brown. At least with Kansas City, they have a lot of mouths to feed, but they're all bought into the system, and they have a great head coach. And that's why they work, and that's why they're so good. It's the same reason why Kevin Durant was happy with going to just switching sports to compare. That's why Kevin Durant was so happy with going to Golden State, is because he didn't necessarily need to have the ball. Everybody was going to get fed. He bought into the system, had great players and a great coach around him. Same kind of mindset with being basically as close to a super team as you can get in the NFL with the Chiefs. They don't have drama. The Golden State Warriors, they had a little bit of drama, but that's what you expect with basketball. You expect that with any sport. It was nothing out of the ordinary. It was it's nothing like a dude is like, off the field, is like verbally and maybe possibly actually beating his wife, and is like, throwing a hissy fit because he can't wear his helmet, not showing up to practice, verbally abusing coaches, stuff like that.
Oh man. Yeah. You expect those things, like, not like that. You expect little stuff like they said with the basketball, but like we were saying before, I don't know what is up with these wide receivers and like these like ridiculous like antics and shows that they just put on, but like it's only wide receivers in the NFL. Like I really don't see too many other, like I don't see basketball players doing this. outside of Gilbert Arenas back in the day bringing guns into the locker room. But other than that, it's not like too many NBA players have had some like crazy meltdowns. I mean, a few, but it's like just so many wide receivers in the past couple of years, and I don't know what's going on, but they got to figure something out with these guys.
Yeah, I know it's crazy. Okay, so mine this week that I think it's a bit of a it's a bit of an odd one, but I just kind of have a gut feeling about this one, and I'm going to go with the Broncos defense as being the toast next week. They're playing the Raiders, and the Raiders defense isn't necessarily that great, so it may be a fairly close game, but I think I got a feeling that Josh Jacobs may run all over this team, and I think Derek Carr is set up to have a fantastic game. The Broncos defense right now, they're giving up 260 passing yards a game, but they're also giving up 120 rushing yards a game. And Jacobs, I really like Jacobs as a running back. There's also all the injuries that are happening to the Broncos, the secondary, and just the defense in general. Like I said, it's probably going to be a close scoring game. It may be a game where both teams score in the 30s. Then again, I've been wrong about 100 things before in the past, so I could probably be wrong about this. But I think the Broncos defense gets torched this coming week. I don't think it's gonna be pretty.
Hey, I hope
or it could turn into one of those games where it's like both teams are toast.
Yeah.
Like both defenses are toast. It's like both of you gave up 30.
That's a toast double feature. I love it. I hope so. I got Josh Jacobs on my fantasy team, and I'm fighting for a playoff spot. I got like 5 teams tied for second place right now, so like it's ridiculous. I'm one of them. We're all tied at 5 and 4. So I'm really hoping Josh Jacobs could give me a solid 30 here, or you know what, I'll settle for 20. But if you want to go for 30, Josh Jacobs, by all means.
Yeah, I guess I could give like a second one just like real quickly, just because I feel like that maybe wasn't that great of a one. So I'll go out on a further limb and I'll probably say Lamar, even though they're playing the Patriots. He's probably gonna have a bad week too. Yeah, I think probably.
I just think that this year is just like it's just
the league is catching up to him.
They have,
and his weaknesses are showing.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this is how many times do we see this with dual threat quarterbacks? So like we were saying last week, but like how many times do we see this with dual threat quarterbacks? It only takes about a year and a half for teams to figure you out. Then about 4 years for you to like, if you don't have an arm developed, you're kind of toast. I mean, like it's just
stick with the theme of the show.
Stick with the theme of the show, I mean, but like it's really crazy. But he's regressed this year a little bit. I mean, defenses caught on to him just like defenses catch on to every craze that goes on in the NFL. I mean, it only takes one season before they get you on film and they learn how to stop you. I mean, you gotta be innovative. Not everyone can be Pat Mahomes, who can just make up shit on the fly and fucking.
Yeah, remember when the Wildcat was the big thing? Yeah, that lasted for a season.
Yeah, the Wildcat was huge. The read option. How big that was for one season. Then the next season, it was completely dead. Like as fast as it came in, it died. This just goes to show you these like gimmicky offensive schemes. It only takes 1 year. So if you got some gimmicky offensive scheme, you better make sure your team is poised to win a championship that year, because you ain't going to be able to use it next year.
Nope.
All right. Well, that about wraps us up for Toast Time episode 2 on the Vendetta Sports Media Network. Thank you, Jackson, for joining me today again, and we will hope to have you guys here again next week as episode 3 we will record same time. Just guys, please, when you watch the video, hit the subscribe button on YouTube. It takes about 2 seconds. That's all. It's not that hard to do. Just please, because a lot of you guys that watch our videos don't subscribe. And the more you guys subscribe, the more content that everyone at Vendetta Sports can give you guys. And listen, I know you guys like the content and you like our site, so please subscribe. Also, we got a Patreon page too. If you guys want to donate to us, that'd be great. The more you guys donate, we really appreciate it. It help us really make more great content for you guys. And yeah, but
Yeah,
thank you.
please, I'm tired of my day job.
Yeah, Jackson's tired of his day job. So am I. I mean, we would rather do this all day. I would love to talk about toast all day long. All right. Well, thanks for watching, guys, and be back next week.